ever get that feel, you know, where your team's communication just starts to fall apart as you grow?
Oh, yeah.
Like suddenly it takes like a whole organizational chart to just figure out who you're supposed to talk to.
Happens all the time, right?
Well, you might be bumping into something called the Dunbar number.
Ah, yes.
And today we're going to break down exactly what that means, especially for all you leaders and builders out there.
It's a fascinating concept, really, this Dunbar number.
Yeah.
It's not just some, random business jargon we throw around.
Right.
It's actually deeply rooted in, like, our biology, how our brains are actually wired for social interaction.
Okay, so break it down for me. What is the Dunbar number? And why should I care? Like, what's the big deal here?
So in the simplest terms, it suggests that we humans can only maintain stable social relationships with around 150 people.
Oh, okay.
That's it. That's the magic number. And once you go beyond that, things start to get messy. Communication breaks down, trust erodes, and just way harder to get everyone on the same page, rowing in the same direction.
Okay, so it's like there's this invisible barrier, this like social ceiling at 150 people.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head.
Interesting.
And the best part, this isn't just some academic theory, stuck in a textbook somewhere.
Okay.
There's real research that shows the very real impact of this Dunbar number on businesses, especially startups.
I bet. I can see how that would be a make or break point for a fast-growing company.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we're going to look at the story of a specific startup founder. We'll call him Elliot.
Okay.
His company hit this Dunbar wall head on.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. All right, so let's hear about Elliot. Set the scene for us. What was going on in his world?
So picture this. Early days of Elliot's company, total classic example of, pre-Dunbar bliss. Small team, everyone knows everyone, communications effortless.
Right. It's like that startup dream, right?
Exactly, that buzzing energy where everyone's just like in sync, ideas are flowing. You can practically feel the innovation in the air.
Yeah.
That natural flow, it's often the secret sauce in those early success stories. That shared sense of purpose, super powerful when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
But as Elliot's company grew, they inevitably crossed that 150 employee mark.
Uh-oh.
And things started to shift.
Yeah, this is where things get interesting, right? What happened? What happened when that, startup magic started to fade?
Well, the research actually highlights this very specific anecdote about Greg.
Okay.
He was a designer at Elliot's company, and Greg joined just after they passed 150 employees. And he quickly started feeling, lost, out of the loop.
Right.
Like he was working in a silo, completely disconnected from the core team,
Oof. Yeah, I've been there. It's like, wait, did everyone else get a memo that I missed? What's going on here?
Exactly. That's the feeling. And the crazy thing is, the math backs this up, With 150 people, you have over 11,000 potential interactions.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling. No single person, not even a super founder like Elliot, can manage that kind of social complexity.
Okay, so yeah, hitting this Dunbar number sounds like a recipe for, total communication chaos. So what did Elliot do? How did he get things back on track?
He was smart. He recognized that his old kind of hands-on approach just wouldn't cut it anymore.
Right.
He needed something more, a more structured, scalable way to manage communication, keep everyone aligned as the company grew.
So, did he hire a team of carrier pigeons? How'd he do it?
Thankfully, no.
Okay, good.
But he did implement some pretty clever strategies, and they're all based on solid research, into organizational behavior and how to scale effectively.
Ooh, I like it. All right, so let's dig into those strategies. What did Elliot do to overcome this Dunbar dilemma?
Well, that's what we're going to unpack next.
Stay with us. Okay, so Elliot realized he needed a new game plan to really tackle this whole Dunbar number thing.
Yeah.
What were those strategies that helped him scale his company without everyone losing that feeling of connection?
Yeah, so the research actually outlines 4 key strategies. And what's interesting is they all kind of build upon each other.
Yeah.
It's not just about picking one and calling it a day.
Ooh, a multi-pronged approach. I like it. All right, so what was strategy number 1 on Elliot's list?
Well, first up is something you might expect, formalizing communication.
Okay.
Because as a company grows, you just can't rely on those casual chats by the water cooler.
Right.
You need to start building systems.
Yeah, because those chance encounters get a lot less frequent when you're dealing with hundreds of employees.
Exactly. So Elliot, working with his head of product, Claire, they started implementing things like weekly team meetings with really clear agendas,
Right.
and someone assigned to actually take notes.
Okay, so everyone's on the same page and there's less room for miscommunication, like things slipping through the cracks.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about meetings. They also introduced like a company-wide newsletter
Oh, nice.
that went out every Monday morning.
Okay.
Think of it like a quick digest of, key achievements, upcoming milestones, any important announcements.
Ooh, a Monday morning dose of, like, good news and updates. I like it. Much better than a barrage of emails.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between keeping everyone informed, but not, like, overwhelming them with information overload.
Right.
And you know what? Greg, the designer who felt so out of the loop before, he actually became a huge advocate for these new communication channels.
Yeah, I bet. It made a world of difference for him, knowing that he wasn't missing out on crucial information. Okay, so formalized communication, check. What's the next strategy in Elliot's, like, scaling playbook?
Next up is all about leadership.
Okay.
Because as a company grows, the founder can't be the only leader, the only, like, source of all decisions.
Right. It's just not scalable. Yeah, you need to empower other people to step up and lead. Otherwise, everything just bottlenecks at the top.
Exactly. And this strategy is all about building leadership ladders throughout the company.
Okay.
It's about training and empowering leaders at every level to, like, make decisions and guide their teams.
Oh, so like creating a network of mini Elliots.
Yes.
Spreading the leadership magic around.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Elliot started holding these, like, monthly leadership meetings with his department heads.
Okay.
But the goal wasn't to micromanage. It was more about aligning on strategy,
Okay.
making sure everyone had access to key metrics,
Yeah.
fostering that shared sense of purpose.
So it was more collaborative than top down. Like, hey, team, we're all in this together. Let's make sure we're rowing in the same direction.
That's a great way to put it. And you know what? This approach really paid off. There's this great story from the research about how the marketing team, empowered by their leader, they actually averted this potential product launch crisis.
Yeah.
They were able to make a crucial decision without having to wait for, Elliot's approval.
Wow, talk about a leadership win. That's a testament to, like, trusting your team and giving them the autonomy to make decisions.
Right.
Okay, so we've got formalized communication, we've got leadership ladders. What's the third strategy Elliot used to scale past Dunbar's number?
So this one might sound a bit technical, but it's all about refining the organizational structure.
Okay.
Because as companies grow, their needs change, and the structure needs to adapt.
Right, like you might start with a small, nimble team, but as you grow, you need to build a more solid foundation to, like, support that growth. What did that look like for Elliot's company?
Well, it involved making some tough decisions.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they decided to break down some of the larger teams into smaller, more independent units.
Interesting. So kind of like creating, like, smaller, more agile squads within the larger company.
Exactly. And this allowed for faster decision-making because teams no longer had to go through, like, multiple layers of management to get things approved.
Right.
It also created, like, this sense of ownership and focus because each team had a really clear area of responsibility.
I'm guessing this also helped to reduce those communication bottlenecks we were talking about earlier too, right?
Absolutely. By aligning their organizational structure with their specific product goals, they were able to streamline workflows, create teams that were truly empowered to own their projects from start to finish.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered formalized communication, leadership ladders, refining the organizational structure. What's the final piece of the puzzle here?
Yeah, this last one is all about keeping that human connection alive, even as the company grows.
Okay.
Remember how Elliot's company had that, like, amazing energy and camaraderie in the early days?
Yeah.
This strategy is all about preserving those vibes.
I'm all ears. How do you maintain that, like, close-knit feeling when you're no longer this tiny team crammed into a tiny office?
Elliot implemented some, like, rituals and activities specifically designed to foster alignment and a sense of community.
Okay.
So, for example, they started holding these monthly demo days where different teams could showcase their work, get feedback from across the company.
Oh, I love that. So it's like show and tell for grown-ups, but with the added benefit of, like, cross-team collaboration and knowledge sharing.
Exactly. It was a fun way to, celebrate everyone's achievements, stay updated on what other teams were working on, and just get that creative energy flowing.
Right.
Plus, they made it a point to have these cross-departmental lunches,
Nice.
encouraging people to connect with colleagues they might not interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah, breaking bread together. Classic recipe for building bonds, right? And, like, it's those informal interactions that can really make a difference, especially when a company is growing so fast.
Right. And let's not forget those Ask Me Anything sessions with Elliot and the other leaders.
Yeah, those are good.
A great way to maintain that feeling of accessibility and transparency, even as the company grew larger.
Like saying, hey, even though we're a big company now, we're still approachable. You can come to us with your questions and concerns. Okay, so Elliot implemented these 4 strategies: formalized communication, leadership ladders, a refined organizational structure, those rituals for connection. Sounds like a solid plan, but did it actually work? Did it really make a difference?
Well, that's what we'll explore in our final segment. Did Elliot manage to scale his company without losing that special sauce that made them so successful in the beginning? Stay tuned to find out.
Okay, so we're back. Final part of our deep dive here, talking about the Dunbar number and how Elliot, our startup founder, really tackled this whole scaling challenge head on. We've heard about the strategies he put in place, but I mean, the big question, the million-dollar question, did they actually work? Like long term, did it really stick?
Right, because anyone can throw a bunch of solutions at a problem. But did they actually make a difference, create lasting positive change?
Exactly.
In Elliot's case, I think it's safe to say resounding yes.
Oh, good.
What he built, it wasn't just some Band-Aid fix.
Right.
It was like a whole new framework, a company culture that could actually thrive even as they grew way past that 150-person mark.
That's awesome. All right, so paint us a picture here. What did success actually look like down the road for Elliot and his company?
Well, think back to those early days we talked about, right?
Yeah.
That almost magical feeling. Everyone in sync, the energy buzzing, shared purpose. Obviously, you can't perfectly replicate that exact same feeling when a company gets bigger, more complex.
Right, some of that initial magic inevitably fades as you grow. It's just natural.
You're absolutely right. But what Elliot was able to achieve, it was pretty darn close.
Okay.
So one of the most noticeable changes was a huge leap forward in how they solved problems. Remember how before things felt kind of chaotic, reactive?
Uh-huh.
Everyone scrambling to stay informed.
Yeah, it sounded like a recipe for like stress and burnout, honestly.
Exactly. But once they had these clearer communication channels in place, they had empowered leaders at each level, things really started to shift.
Okay.
Teams could actually get ahead of problems, not just react to them.
I see.
They became way more proactive.
So it wasn't just about like feeling connected. It was about actually working better together.
Exactly. And, I think it's a perfect example of how a strong company culture isn't just some fluffy feel-good concept.
Great.
It has real measurable impact on how well a business runs.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's more. They also saw big improvements in employee morale. People actually stayed with the company longer.
Yeah, that makes sense. When people feel like they're in the loop, that their voice actually matters, they're trusted to make decisions, they're probably going to be happier and stick around.
Exactly. So I think Elliot's story is a powerful reminder that culture isn't just a perk. It's the foundation. A successful organization is built on it.
Yeah, like that saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the smartest plan in the world, but if your company culture is a mess, you're going to struggle. So if we had to sum up like Elliot's success here, what's
Yeah.
the one big takeaway?
I think the big takeaway is this. Scaling a company, it's not about one superhero leader doing everything.
Right.
It's about building a framework where everyone can contribute their best, even as things change, even as the organization grows.
Yeah, so it's like Elliot didn't just scale his company, he scaled his leadership style.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And this is a lesson that goes way beyond just startups.
Sure.
Think about any organization, a small team, a huge corporation, even a community group.
Yeah.
If they understand this whole Dunbar number dynamic,
Right.
how crucial it is to build systems for connection and communication, they're going to have a much better chance of succeeding.
Yeah, so true. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with something to think about. Where else in your own life do you see this Dunbar number at play? Could understanding this concept, this idea, help you navigate relationships, groups you're part of, even outside of work? How does this show up for you?
I love that question because it reminds us that these insights we've been talking about aren't just for businesses. The Dunbar number, it's this fundamental part of how we humans operate, and understanding it can help us build stronger relationships in every area of our lives.
It's been awesome exploring this topic with you. Until next time, keep diving deep.